third round of the tournament, and this time I'm playing against another candidate national master. He's rated close to 2000 FIDE, and we played this game with 98% accuracy. It is a 79 moves game, and it shows you how strong a 2000 FIDE actually is. We're not talking about just the comp rating. Luckily, I'm playing as white, and I played e4. Some players always reply with c5. I've never seen anything else from them. So c5, c3, the Alapin. Finally, I'm kind of prepared against the Sicilian. And he replied with the main line, knight on f6. At tournament level, everyone is going to play knight on f6. Just forget about this. You just have to study this. Everyone plays this. So, knight on f6, e5, knight on d5, knight on f3. Trying to, defend the pawn and go for d4. Knight on c6, targeting the pawn, but we don't really care. We are going to play d4. Takes, and now the main move is taking. Although the second most played move, which is pretty good, and it has also been played by Magnus Carlsen, is bishop on c4, which is a gambit. So what is the point of bishop on c4? First of all, you cannot play now. The knight is hanging two different ways. You have to move the knight on b6, and now bishop on b3. What happens if you take the pawn now? This is a gambit. Knight takes on c3. And now you can play e6, d6 or d5. I was prepared for this. Let's say you play, I think d5 is the best move. And is already around +1 for white. You play this, and you take this way. If you take with the queen, you lose. GG. So you have to take with the pawn. And after that we can play the move knight on g5. Then to go for the f7 pawn. You can block with the knight, now castle. There is a lot of pressure, white stands definitely better. That's why you shouldn't take. And my opponent replied with the best move, which is d5. d5, now you take en passant, and you should capture with the queen this time, because we cannot take back. And now you can play short castle, but I didn't like that line. I liked much more the move knight on e3. So knight on e3 is still theory, and it is a pretty tricky move. If you take, once again, there is the same tactic. If you take, I guess maybe you don't lose, but good luck. I'm down to pawns, but it's not really like that. I could even castle long and destroy you. So I was also prepared for this. But instead of doing that, my opponent played, once again, the best move. They know everything. e6, which prevents the knight from going on b5. And now you can, once again, castle and give away the pawn. But I didn't like that line. I was prepared for this. So pawn takes, is slightly worse, but nothing crazy. And he played bishop on e6, which is playable. Is once again the best move. And now you can just castle short. I believe I played, yeah. You just castle. If you take, I'm going to take with the queen. And you cannot take the pawn, because there is this bishop e3 and GG. So you cannot do that. That's why I just decided to castle, and I might threaten in the future to play knight on c4. Bishop on d5, once again the best move. What is the point? The point is that you want to free the e6 square in order to play e6. Develop the bishop on e7 and then castle. Pretty simple. So I decided to play bishop on e3, just adding more pressure to the pawn, more defense. e6, in order to develop the bishop, makes a ton of sense. Rook c1, the idea is that I want to play knight c4 because the knight on e3 doesn't make a lot of sense, to be fair. And now knight on c4, we played one pair of knights, and I decided to take. Now, you could take on c4. Now, as you can see, I'm definitely worst. It's almost -1. It's not that I'm losing, but it is a complicated position to play. Because after you take a rook take, I guess, well, maybe there isn't this idea right now. I just go back. But after you castle, this pawn is pretty weak. You have many ways to attack it. Although I believe it's nothing crazy. You can defend it. But instead of doing that, he just decided to castle. And now I could take the bishop. I was thinking about that. Because, you know, you could play this. Take, knight take, take, take. That's the problem. I wasn't so scared about this because let's say I play a random move and you take, and this actually happens, I can just take this pawn. So I wasn't too scared about this line. So instead of taking the bishop, I just decided to play b3. b3 is actually a pretty good move. It is a move that prevents a5 because you cannot go on c4, so knight on a5 doesn't make a ton of sense. If you take, I'm going to take with the pawn, and that is crank centered, so yeah, does indeed make sense. Rook on c8, queen on e2, need to avoid all the dumb stuff. Again, if you take, there is still the same pattern, you can't really do a lot about that. Now rook on d8, rook on d1, keep defending the pawn, and bishop on f6. At this point I just decided to take. I said, you know what, I want all the defender possibles. And at this point I decided to play rook on c5. Now on rook on c5 I was really hoping for my opponent to play this. Knight take on d4. Look like it wins. Because the rook is under attack. Your queen is under attack. The fact is that after this you take with check. And it's over. The problem with this move is that there is the incredible rook on d4. So before playing this move I saw this static and I saw that rook take works indeed. Because now you don't have the knight. If you take my rook I win the queen. You cannot play this because the bishop covers the C1 square, and if you, let's say, take the rook, I'm just going to take anyway. So that didn't work, and my opponent, unfortunately, saw that. What a surprise. And at this point, I thought I was better. I was worse for pretty much all the game. This shows that I don't really understand chess. I thought I was not like super better, but slightly better at least. It's -1. So queen on d2, what is the point of queen on d2? I'm preventing this. I might want to get in on the queen side eventually. And if you play h6, I might even consider the idea of sacrificing some piece. And the third idea is I want to play d5. Knight on e7 just prevents it. Simple as that. Now rook on c1, if you take, I'm going to take with the rook. And have the control of the file. b6. The rook goes on c4. If you take now, I'm going to take with the pawn. So it's better not to do that. Queen on b6. Queen on c2. I'm threatening to play rook on c7. So I'm trying to create as many threats as possible. Also, the other advantage of queen on c2 is that I'm preventing the queen from going on e4. So it was a pretty good move. If you take, once again, I'm going to take this way. g6 and h3. I said, you know what, I don't want to get mated, I don't want to allow any tactics, so I'm going to run away eventually. Queen on d5, and then just queen on e2. So, I don't know if I'm threatening to take, I might, but it's nothing crazy. It goes back, queen on c2. I was like, okay, let's make it though. I'm happy, I gain a lot of points. Is like 200 points higher rated than me, so I want to draw if I can. And now king on g7. Obviously my opponent is going to win, although I thought it was better. I really thought it was better. Rook c7. Now I can play it. If you take, I just get in. Yeah, I still you call, of course. I thought it was better. Instead of doing that, my opponent believed me and played queen on a8. And now the knight gets in. Knight on e5. With knight on e5, I am also threatening to play bishop on h6, check, you take, check, and I win the rook. This was the idea, of course, he took. Like, no problem whatsoever. He decided to take the rook, and I missed this line. I was calculating a ton of lines. I thought I calculated everything. I missed the fact that if you take and you take with the queen now, there is knight d5. And now I saw why I was worst. Now, if I retreat, I probably lose. That's what I thought. I retreat, knight takes, take. The queen gets in. The rook might get in. So I thought a lot in this position, and I decided to play the best move, queen on c6. And I thought correctly and evaluated that the endgame was a draw. Because if you take, which is the move my opponent played, and you take the bishop, is good that my structure is damaged, but my rook is pretty active. So I have this advantage indeed. Rook on d2, your rook is even better though, but these pawns are weaker. So pawn on a4, and he played the move pawn on b5. I take, and pawn take. I'm up a pawn, I'm still worse, why? Because obviously he has the move rook on e2, and he's going to win the pawn anyway. At this point, I thought I was pretty clever with the move rook on b6. The point is that after you take, I have rook on b5, so I can start pushing the pawn and then defending everything. This is a draw, but I'm worse because this pawn is not a strength. It's definitely a liability, it's pretty weak, and my rook has to stay on this rank, on the 5th rank. So rook on a3, of course, and now pawn on a5. The rook goes on e2, and now king on h2. The point is that I can't really go this way, so I want to push the pawn and try to activate the king, which makes a lot of sense. Rook on a3, h4. My idea is playing g3 and king on h3. And now king on h6, g3. Push the pawn, and now king on h3. This is still hard for white. I'm the one who is trying to not lose, because after you take and the king takes, you have this move king on g6. The fact is that, again, my rook is super passive, this pawn is weak, I can't move the rook, this pawn is weak too. And after I play g4 in order to restrict your king, because if you get in I lose, you have the move, okay, you have this first, and then you have the move rook on a4. So I'm probably going to lose a pawn. That's the fact. I have counterplay after that. So I thought it was still a draw, but it's not easy to draw a position like this. So as you can see, at this level, people are god of endgames. You have to be super careful. You can lose every endgame possible, even opposite color bishops. Don't worry, you can lose them. King on h3. He decided to play rook on e2, doesn't do a lot. I don't know, maybe he didn't know what to do. Rook on a4, king on h3, and now if you want to try to win, king on g5 has to be played, king on g5. And now there is my counterplay. So the idea is, okay, I'm going to lose a pawn this way or this way. I'm going to lose a pawn, but I'm going to win this. And after that, I'm probably going to win another pawn. You're going to be up a pawn in the endgame, but I should hold. Let's say you take this, which is the best move. There is rook take on f7, you take this pawn, and now there is rook g7 check. You have to go back, rook on h7, that's what I saw, and I thought it was a draw. Let's say you play king on g6, I just play, well, he's saying rook on e7, yes, makes a lot of sense. You can't really make a ton of progresses. If you go on g5, I still give a check. If you get in, there is, I don't know, there has to be a way. Yeah, rook on f7 once again, you go this way, and I'm going to win the pawn. Just rook on h7 makes sense. So going back, instead of doing that, you could even capture this way. Before doing that, he decided to give a check, which makes sense. King on g2, king takes, and now we can take the pawn. He gives another check. Now you need to be careful. Endgames are super difficult. You can always lose them. You always have to take your time to think a lot of minutes, and play the best move. If I play king on g1, I'm probably losing. Maybe not, but it's super difficult because there is the threat of mating and this. So it's super difficult. The best move is definitely king on f1. King on f1, you don't have this idea. And now he decided to take. And I have the move rook on f6. So I calculated everything. I was sure this was a draw. And it shouldn't even be too difficult to draw this position. And that's why it's important to know basic endgames, how to draw basic endgames. Because if you don't know that, you are going to waste 3 or 4 hours of your life, because this game lasted like 3 hours and a half. If you don't know how to draw a position like this, well, you're not on the first group of the tournament, first of all, but second, you should really know that, because it's going to save you. So king on f3, we give a check. The king has to go away, and we use the third rank defense. How can you draw a position like this? The rook has to be on the third rank. No one is going to challenge that. I mean, it's pretty difficult to do that. So rook on the third rank. The king has to be at least on the fourth rank. It can't be already there. So the rook cuts off the king, and our king has to be close or on the promotion square of the pawn. So all the conditions are there. So we can definitely draw this position. I knew for a fact this was a draw. Now king on f2, again taking some space. Is going to maneuver. The fact is that till the pawn is not on the third rank, we can just shuffle the rook or the king. As simple as that. You can even restrict our king on the first rank. The fact is that your king can't get in till the rook is on the third rank. So we can just shuffle, 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 and shuffle. And we wait until your pawn reaches the third rank. So we just wait, shuffle and wait, shuffle and wait. We wait. Third rank. After we reach the third rank, we can go all the way back with the rook. And the point is that you are never going to get in with your king, because we can give perpetual check. So after you play this move, pawn on e3, your pawn cannot shield the king. This king is just defending all the important square. If you give a check, it's not mate. We can just shuffle the king once again. And it is a pretty easy draw. So we give a check. We keep giving checks. That's how you draw a position like this. Now you shouldn't be scared about this. If you move the rook, okay, you could move the rook. But the easiest way to draw this is just taking. And once again, that's why you should know your endgames. Because if you don't know this is a draw, that's bad news. And why is it a draw? When the pawn is on the last 3 ranks, in order to win, your king should be on the black king in this case, should be on one of these 6 squares. So if we can prevent the king to go on one of these 6 squares, we are going to draw the game. So king on e2, king on e4, and now you could lose this endgame again. You could lose every endgame. Let's say you play king on f1 or king on d1, this loses. King on d3, we play this, 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 and guess what? The king reached the square. In order to draw this game, you want to reach the opposition. So at this point we play king on e1, and we want to have the opposition. Wherever the king goes, we're going to play rook on d1 in this case, and we're going to play king on f1 in this case. You go back, we play this, you play this, we play this. Opposition. Let's say you push the pawn. This is stalemate. So going back in, let me see. This position, my opponent offered me a draw, and I accepted it. I mean, it is a draw. There is nothing you can do. So 98% accuracy. This was, well, I guess the best game I ever played, despite the fact I was worst during all the game. But yeah, my opponent was a monster, super strong. So I really played well. This is a really important draw. I'm really happy. So I'm getting better, definitely, with this time format. And for once, I knew a lot of theory, and this really helped me a lot. So yeah, that's it for today, guys, and see you soon with the fourth round.